The world will never forget the first terrible Friday the 13th. The sky dripped red with the blood of the murdered. Kings wept, rivers boiled, and every living creature sought refuge under whatever could shield them from the unspoken terror that accompanied that cursed day. I just made all that up. We fear Friday the 13th, but no one can say for sure why. However, there are some pretty juicy theories out there, and we're going to share them with you today on Homespun Haints. Hello, Hainted Loves. Welcome to Homespun Haints. I'm Becky.
I'm Diana.
Diana, did you notice my hair is a little different?
It's having a conflicting gender reveal moment because it was pink the last time I saw you. Now it's blue.
It's supposed to be teal because I couldn't find the pink dye. I did a shit job. I kind of have stripes. My colorist is going to murder me when he sees me. Be like, why do you do this to yourself? You have a colorist. Yes, but
why do you do this to yourself?
It's expensive, and I have marble countertops I want to ruin.
Also expensive.
I'm just going to tell people I fell into a vat of radioactive dye and leave it at that. Perfect explanation. We are not having a guest today. We are actually going to do something a little different. We did this a lot last season where we did H-Files episodes and we went in depth and researched something that you all want to know the answer to. How do we know you want to know the answer to? Well, there's all sorts of things you can do. You can always email us. You can ask us a question in our Facebook group. You can join our Patreon and ask a question. Or, as in the case with us, you can just psychically send us vibes and we absorb them.
This is how we get our material, your psychic vibes. Yeah. Thank you.
Also, the person who told me to dye my hair teal, you're welcome.
You're seriously doing hair colors that people on the internet tell you to do?
Maybe. We're not here to talk about color, strangely enough, because we actually do talk a lot about color on this show. Must be true. The fact that we're artists. But we are going to talk about something that's coming up in October. A lot of y'all are really excited about the fact that October has a Friday the 13th. Everybody always asks, what is it about Friday the 13th? And we know you know the answer, but you don't know the answer the way we're going to tell you.
I, honest to goodness, don't know the answer. The only answer I know is that's when we watch Friday the 13th movie marathons. But other than that, I really don't know the significance.
Oh, well, Diana, let me educate you.
Please. I'm thirsty for education. Give it to me.
Before we talk about it, though, you know how we are. We've always got to tell you a story.
Oh, story time.
Since Friday the 13th is associated with bad luck, if you didn't know that, I'm sorry, spoiler, Friday the 13th.
In this country, I mean, I don't know about every country.
Exactly. In parts of Europe and in the US, Friday the 13th is considered an unlucky day. Is that universal? Is there a reason for it? Kind of the way full moons affect us? Well, we'll get into that in a minute. But speaking of bad luck, I got a call from my cousin this morning.
Uh-oh.
And she was really excited. She's a professional photographer. And she had just done a photo shoot in South Georgia off the coast. Just
cool.
Barely made it out of the way of Adalia. And she was really excited because she had wandered into this antique shop. And she's like, Becky, you would have loved it. This place was really fucked up. She's like, but I have to ask you about this thing that the guy had in the back. She's like, you know about weird shit. I'm sure you know what this is all about.
We are building that reputation.
Apparently, yeah. So people call me out of the blue. Like,
you know about weird shit.
Help me explain this. So she said, yeah. So in the shop it sounded like some kind of contained altar with like a domed lid on it, like glass lid. So think about like a really, really tall cake pan or something like that. But it was basically an inverted jar. And inside of it was in some kind of gelatinous liquid was a suspended upside down bat preserved in this. And underneath the bat was a silver dollar and some garlic cloves. And she's like, what does that mean? You know, me, I'm very open-minded. I think she was expecting me to be like, oh, it's evil. Stay far away. But instead I was like, oh, it's probably just somebody's way of making an offering. I mean, I don't know. I don't know anything about this. She's just kind of listening politely. And then she goes, yeah, so the shop owner said that after he acquired this, some rando on the street just stabbed him in the neck. And he was showing off the scar. And I'm like, you know what? Stay away. I'm like, no, that ain't good. That ain't good. That's just weird coincidence.
That is a weird coincidence. Dude.
Yeah, apparently the shop owner was like showing off the scar. He had like this 3-inch scar in his neck.
I mean, if I got stabbed in the neck, I would probably show it off. Don't stab me in the neck, Tainted Love.
No, well, you're not going to acquire somebody's
trapped vampire
vat, yeah, with the money. He had also been talking about breaking it open and selling the silver dollar inside. So, yeah, maybe that's why he got stabbed in the neck.
Maybe.
Anyway, if anybody knows what that is, I am curious because I would like to know more about it.
It seems very obvious that it's a vampire trap to me, but what do I know about religion?
I did not even put the bat and the garlic together. And the silver. Oh my God, it was a silver dollar.
It could be holy water that it's preserved in.
Oh, shit.
Doubtful. Holy water and formaldehyde.
It's just freaking weird.
It's probably some goth white chick being weird. Yep. I guess. But maybe I'm wrong. Who knows?
Well, could that have caused the stabbing?
Caused? Caused? Is there a cause for a crazy person stabbing you?
In the neck?
Is that just the universe's way of saying it's time for you to get stabbed now? I don't know. I guess this is an existential question, isn't it? Do I believe there's a reason for everything and everything happens for a reason?
I mean, it just seems like a weird coincidence.
It is a super weird coincidence. That's very strange. Where did he get it? Was it like the shop in Gremlins where he found this underground shop in Chinatown?
Apparently he purchased it in Savannah. Some little shop in Savannah. So that kicks off our discussion of bad luck days.
That is bad luck, getting stabbed in the neck after acquiring a strange artifact.
Diana, we have 2 new patrons to give a shout out to.
Oh my gosh. Who are they? Tell me. Tell me now.
We want to give a big thank you to Melissa and to Jackie.
Thank you, Melissa. Thank you, Jackie.
We're thrilled that you're here. Jackie immediately got her ticket to our upcoming Haunted Basement Beckons live stream that's happening here on the 24th, which is a perk for our patrons. They get to attend that for free.
Yes.
And Melissa, thank you so much. You are awesome. You both are awesome for being here.
We're awesome too.
We're awesome
It's
too.
true.
Yeah.
We're all awesome. Let's all be awesome together.
So if you would like to join the ranks of the great patrons who are getting all this free content and commercial-free episodes, and then, of course, bonus stuff, because who doesn't like extra hours of their day filled with us talking?
You could listen to us while you do the laundry, while you drive, while you sleep, while you're making love. We don't judge. You do whatever you want while you're listening to us. But
oh God, I can't even. No, please don't do that. Having sex, really?
Not just sex, making love. But if you're listening to us now and you're not a patron, guess what you'll be doing? Listening to this commercial.
Sign up for our Patreon at patreon.com/homespunhates.
Prepare to enter an immersive world of tragedies, hauntings, legends, and folklore. Southern Gothic is an independently produced podcast documenting the rich history of the American South. Stretching from the swamps of Louisiana to the shores of the Carolinas, deep into the mountains of Appalachia, and across the battlefields and earliest settlements of Virginia. Guiding you through some of its darkest tales and eerie locations. Join us now on Southern Gothic, the podcast.
Let's start by talking about unlucky days in general.
Okay.
So we as a species, we really like our superstitions.
Oh. Almost as much as pigeons. Yes. Yes, definitely.
As in
I did write
language?
an article for our blog comparing humans to pigeons with superstitious behavior.
Interesting.
You can read that on our website, homespunhaints.com. Search for Why So Salty.
That's right. I remember that. That was good. Talking about lucky versus unlucky days. This is a tradition that dates way back.
Look.
The idea of a lucky day or an unlucky day. We've always heard about days that were auspicious or unlucky, and they usually have to do with numerology and numbers, at least since we've had the calendar that we have now. Prior to that, we also know that there's associations with the phases of the moon, which may or may not have more legitimacy, I think, considering it's cosmic and not arbitrarily administered by faulty humans.
Right. Considering the calendar was something that humans invented.
Right.
And not universal at all.
Right.
And fairly modern compared to humans. But yeah, it is a fascinating concept, the idea of a lucky day. Oh, I looked it up. This Friday the 13th is going to be the new moon.
Ooh, okay. So it's going to be auspicious and inauspicious at the same time. So the skies are going to be very dark. Ooh. All right. Well, you don't have to worry about werewolves on this Friday the 13th.
Oh, that's true. That's the one thing you don't have to worry about. The one good thing.
The idea of unlucky days dates way back. In ancient Rome, they had 2 unlucky days per month.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
It is. It is. It had to do with days that had been famous because of some horrible event. Something horrible had happened. Kind of like for us, 9/11, right?
I guess this is a timely topic. Good
Yeah, I
point.
suppose it is. Yeah. As we know, Rome has had an influence for a while on the West. And this idea with these specific dates really does permeate into Western European culture, North American culture. There's a word you've probably heard called dismal.
Yes, I've heard the word dismal.
Diana, you're the etymologist. Do you know what dismal means?
It's slang for dis bad. Right?
No, it actually...
Like dis good, dis bad, dismal.
It actually comes from Old French. Dis mal means bad day. So the calendar actually had dis mal in it. These bad days.
Well, but I was close.
You were very close.
I
Yes.
was close.
Dis bad. So dies mali is the Latin, which means
dies.
bad,
Gotcha.
evil days.
Carpe dismal.
You had a day like this, don't do anything important. Don't start your business on this day. Don't get married on this day. Don't start your big travel from France to England selling your furs through plague-laden country on this day.
Or at all, ideally.
Of course, as you know, the word dismal has changed over time and now just means dreary or gloomy, but it actually used to mean an evil day.
That's kind of what it means now. I mean, we don't use it in the same part of speech.
Now it's become an adjective. It used to be a noun.
This dismal blah, blah, blah.
So if you were a housewife in 13th century France and you had your little free calendar that you got from the bank, you would actually go and write these dates down on the calendar. Like, don't do anything on these days. Do you want to know what those days are? I bet you do.
Please tell me.
Yeah. January, it's the 1st and the 25th. So New Year's Day is a dismal. February, 4th and 26th. March, it's the 1st and the 28th. April, it's the 10th and the 20th, which sucks because my birthday is April 10th. May, it's the 3rd and the 25th. June, it's the 10th and the 16th. July, it is the 13th and the 22nd, but I think it has nothing to do with Friday the 13th. And considering that's the only 13, I don't think it has anything to do with the number of 13 being unlucky.
Yeah.
August 1st and 30th.
Both of our birthdays?
Yes!
Seriously? Well, that explains us.
That's why we're
Painted
so
loves, you're
dismal.
welcome. It was fated for us to just be dismal our whole lives. Oh, well.
Yeah, in case you didn't know, Diana's birthday is August 1st. September 3rd and 21st. October 3rd and 22nd.
Not Halloween. That's good.
November 5th and 28th. December 7th and 22nd.
Well, at least Amber escaped the dismal curse.
So did my husband
Oh, good.
and my children, but not you and me, Diana.
Well, that tracks.
Exactly.
Hated Loves, which of you has birthdays that are dismal? Let us know. Commiserate with us.
I thought you would appreciate that. They were often sometimes referred to as Egyptian days also.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
It has
Why?
nothing to do with ancient Egypt, though, because if you remember, who were the guys doing all the real math and work during the Middle Ages? It was in the Middle East. They considered this to be knowledge that had been discovered by Egyptian astrologers, hence Egyptian days.
I see.
Those are dismal days. So the idea of Friday the 13th, it doesn't show up in that unless July 13th happens to be on a Friday.
But that's only happenstance, and it only happens once in a while.
And we're going to get into that because there is something interesting about the frequency of Friday the 13th that occur.
Oh.
We'll talk about that in a minute. Now,
every 13 months? That would be weird.
Not quite.
Darn.
So the number 13 as being unlucky, there's several theories for why this is. There is the thought that it actually originated with Norse mythology. You know the story of Loki murdering Baldur from Norse mythology.
Tell it to me.
Loki, if you weren't familiar, Marvel does a pretty good job of portraying him, I gotta say. Most pagan religions don't really have an evil god, which is kind of an unusual thought for those of us that grew up in monotheistic religions because we always think of God and the devil, right? Or the antithesis of God, whatever that may be or look like.
Good and bad represented by different things, different entities, to both sides in one entity.
Right,
yes.
which is what you see in a lot of pagan entities. Now, that doesn't mean that there weren't entities that were more bad than others. In Norse mythology, there was a god, Baldur, and he was the love of Valhalla. Everyone just loved him. He was just the golden god. Nobody could touch him.
Aww.
And his mother loved him so much that when he was born, kind of like, you know how Thetis dipped Achilles into
I was just thinking
the
about
liquid,
that,
but she couldn't,
Yeah.
his ankle, the Achilles heel,
Yeah.
she had to hold him with something. Well, kind of the same with Baldur's mother. His mother, Frigg, Odin's wife, Baldur was the son of Odin and Frigg. She loved him so much that she went all over the land and found every single possible thing that could hurt her son. And she put a spell on it so that it would not be able to hurt her son. Her son would be invincible to everything. But she overlooked the mistletoe.
Mistletoe. I thought you were going to say spinning wheel. Darn it. Not that much of an association.
She overlooked the mistletoe because she didn't think it could possibly happen.
It's so way up there.
So the idea is that the number 13 became unlucky because the gods were holding this huge banquet in Baldur's honor. 12 of them. There were 12 gods. And Loki shows up as the 13th. Uninvited, as he is wont to do. Apparently there's this game going on where they're showing off like how invincible Baldur is. So they've got him strapped to a wall and they're shooting things at him. And everything's just bouncing off. He's like, ha ha ha, I'm the golden god. And Loki's like, uh-huh. And he convinces somebody else. He keeps his hands clean. He takes a bit of mistletoe and he whittles it down into an arrow. And it goes right through Baldur and kills him on the spot.
Oh.
Many believe that, because Loki was the 13th, that is the reason that 13 is considered unlucky.
That's so highly specific to one situation that probably didn't actually happen. It sounds like an after the fact. What do they call that? Ad hoc argument. Sounds like it was already unlucky and somebody just made up this story, doesn't it? I mean, realistically so.
It kind of does, yeah. I guess the point is we don't really know.
Yeah, where did it come from before this story? And also, just to tie it back to etymology, remember that mistletoe literally translates to dung stick. So I would be offended to be killed by one.
I don't want to be killed by poop.
Exactly,
Though
right?
a lot of people
dung stick.
do die that way. There's also the idea that there were 13 individuals at Jesus' Last Supper.
12, right? 12 apostles plus Jesus, I guess. The unlucky one being
Jesus.
the guy at the Last Supper. His name is not Loki. It was what?
Judas?
Judas? Judas. I should remember that. There's a Lady Gaga song named that.
Jesus' Last Supper. There were 13 people present in the room. It was the 13th of the month, Maundy Thursday. And then he died.
Maundy Thursday. Thursday the 13th.
Mm-hmm. And then he died
I didn't
on
realize it was.
Good Friday.
Which was the
14th. But yeah. Anyway, like I said, it's a stretch. It's a stretch. Where does this come from? Where does 13 come from as unlucky? These are the theories about where it comes from, but these are all conjectures. There's the idea that 12 is like a perfect number. The Sumerians considered the number 12 to be perfect. So 13 would be imperfect.
In number theory, a perfect number is a positive integer that's equal to the sum of its positive divisors, excluding the number itself. So since 12 is divisible by 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 6, 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 plus 6 is not 12. Wait a second. Hang on. What?
But think about how much 12 shows up in our own culture. There's 12 months in the year.
12 hours and half of a day. 12 hours on a clock. 12 eggs in a dozen.
12 inches in a foot.
Oh, that's a big one.
12 is a very common, roundy, nice number. In UX design, we use 12 and 6 a lot for our columns and our grids because you can divide them easily. You can have 4 columns or 3 columns or 2 columns just on this width of your device, and it still looks all nice and even. It's just a great number to work with. And then in here comes 13, which is all prime and weird and
kind of a pain in the ass, divisible by nothing.
But again, this is not universal. 17 is considered to be unlucky in Italy because the Roman numeral for 17, XVII, it can be rearranged to spelled vixi, which means I have lived or I'm about to die. No, these are all stretches, right?
That's a big stretch.
4 is unlucky in Japan because etymologically, the number 4 also sounds kind of like death. So
same in China. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. If you've ever noticed, you go to an Asian restaurant and you ask for pot stickers and they bring you 5, but there's 4 of you at the table. And it's always awkward because you got to like cut the last one into fourths. Well, that's why. Because it's bad fucking luck.
Yeah, you definitely want to avoid 4 in Chinese and Japanese cultures situations. There's an awesome bubblegum punk song that Amber found that's about the number 4 and how it shouldn't be villainized anymore. It's fucking cute. It's really fucking cute. I'll find that for you.
In a lot of these countries, because they've adopted our traditions in many ways, Friday the 13th has become bad luck over there too. So now you just got all sorts of bad luck everywhere.
And just keep stacking up the bad
keep
days.
Stacking it up, yeah.
It's a dismal pile.
So numerology, 13 is considered to be the number of beginnings and endings.
Also, numerology, I guess 1 plus 3 from 13 equals 4. So doubly unlucky.
Coincidence?
Ah.
That's the thing about numerology.
You can make it work however you want, can't you?
Well, why Friday the 13th?
That I've been wondering.
Yes.
There's Good Friday is a good thing in the Christian tradition.
No.
Right?
No, it's the Friday that Jesus died.
Well, then why is it called good?
I don't know.
Oh, I'm so confused. No. Hang on. He died on Wednesday.
He died on Good Friday. He came back to life on Easter Sunday.
Fat Tuesday, Ash Wednesday, Maundy Thursday, which has something to do with pancakes, and then...
Where are you getting this?
Good Friday. Where did I get all this information? That's a good question. Not from any official sources, obviously. This is just the lore that I've managed to gather on my own, wool gathering.
Fat Tuesday and Ash Wednesday do not occur during Holy Week for Easter. That's 40 days prior because you fast up until Easter.
Oh. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah. So
thank you.
Jesus did die on a Friday.
All right.
But it's also considered to be the close of the week. Friday is the day that you end things. It should not be the day that you begin things. Kind of like the full moon is when you end things. The new moon, because it's new, is when you begin things. There is the theory that could be why Friday is considered unlucky. If you are talking about an auspicious day to begin something new, you should not do it on a Friday.
Okay.
The legend that I heard first about why specifically Friday the 13th is unlucky, and possibly the reason why the 13th is considered unlucky, dates back to the Knights Templar.
No way.
Yeah. Now,
That's a Christian thing, too.
right. Exactly.
Yeah.
This definitely arose out of a Christian tradition. This is a very, very popular theory, and it actually took place on October 13th, a Friday the 13th, in the year 1307.
That's a long time ago.
So do you know who the Knights Templar were? Or are, if you believe some conspiracy theories.
Ooh. Tell me, Becky.
This group of people, they were knights, they were military, but they were also religious. They were monks of sorts.
When I hear Knights Templar, I think of the Spanish Inquisition.
They were formed as a way to protect and aid pilgrims who were going to the Holy Land. So as a way, they were kind of like this protection thing. They were founded, the date given is 1118. Let's go with that. Let's assume that was actually written down because it was the church and they actually wrote things down. So what they would do is they would travel with the pilgrims and protect them as they went from whatever European nation they were from to visit Jerusalem. But think about it. You've got this group of people. They answer to the church. They don't answer to the king. But the military, they've got military training. And they travel the globe. They speak multiple languages. They're highly respected. They have the protection of the church. They don't have an allegiance to any particular king. And they have the ability to move money from one place to another.
Oh.
So the Knights Templar essentially became the world's first checking account.
Huh. Western Union.
Yeah. If they were traveling through France and a French nobleman was like, hey, I owe this money to this guy over in Spain, he could entrust it with the Templars to get the money there and then, maybe pay him a fee. So over the next 200 years, these men became some of the most powerful, richest men in history in the world. In 200 years, they rose up. They're all men. They don't have any heirs. Their only allegiance is to one another. Theoretically, the Pope. They don't have an allegiance to a king. They are entrusted with managing money, so nobody wants them to go away.
Because they're a decentralized
Banking system.
form
Yeah,
of
European banking system. Yeah,
currency
exactly.
management. Yeah. Mercenaries without borders.
So they're creating an entire system. They've got castles that they've built for themselves. They've got churches that they meet in. They've got their own banking system. They've got their own banks that they've built in 200 years. And the kings are bowing down to these guys. The kings want these guys on their side. Military training. And they were very devout, the knights. Even though they had all this wealth, they traveled to a horse, which of course spread some rumors. King Philippe IV of France doesn't like this. Philippe had been responsible for killing a lot of Jews. And the reason why, again, banking, Christianity did not allow for the collection of interest, which is why Jews became very wealthy during the Middle Ages. They became a big lending system. A lot of monasteries were built with Jewish money.
Interesting.
So, of course, the king is like, I don't like these Jews, they got money. So he would basically arrest them and kill them so he could take their property and their money. So imagine how Philippe started to feel about the knights.
Uh-oh.
He couldn't just go and start murdering Templars because of their network. They had ears everywhere and they had people on their side everywhere. Philippe had to do it very secretively and make sure everybody was eliminated at once. He began to spread nasty rumors about the Templars to all of the royalty. He accused them of sodomy.
Oh my.
Those horses, yes. And sexual devilish rituals and black magic. They were basically Aleister Crowley all exploded across all of the Templars. Philippe sent these letters out secretly.
What year was this?
This is in 1307. All this happened in a month.
Oh, wow. Moved quickly.
He basically was able to send out this network secretively through France. The idea was they had to attack them all at once, early in the morning, so that word couldn't get from one group to the other about what was happening.
I gotcha.
Mm-hmm. And that morning was October 13th, 1307.
A Friday. So who won?
I mean, who won? The knights died.
But you said there was a conspiracy theorist that disagrees.
There is. There is always a conspiracy theory that some got away, that there's a secret society of Knights Templars living, carrying out whatever. Maybe they became the Illuminati. Maybe they became the Masons. There's all sorts of theories. So that is probably the most popular theory as to why Friday the 13th has become synonymous with bad luck. Because it was definitely bad luck for those poor Templars.
You gotta say that, does bad luck for someone come with good luck for somebody else? Because there was a very lucky day for the king, I guess, because their plan succeeded and they eliminated all the Knights Templar. There's no such thing as universally unlucky or universally lucky.
King Philippe had killed all the Jews, so he wanted to get the money
Kill
of the
some more
Templars.
folks.
Yeah.
So busy killing folks. Being a king, it's hard.
What happened was that when they captured the Templars, they tortured them. Ridiculously tortured. I mean, we're talking this is Inquisition level torture. Stretched, burned, and of course, then they confessed to all of the lurid things that have been said about them. The dark magic, the homosexuality, all of the things they'd been accused of.
Hard not to confess when you're being tortured. Yeah, we know that now.
And then, of course, in the process of the confession, they basically condemned their head, Grand Master Jacques de Molay. And so now, basically, the entire order has confessed to these things. The church had no choice but to eliminate them. So the Pope then sent out orders for them to be arrested in other parts of the world. The trials were shut down in 1308, and a lot of them were burned at the stake. Yay! The ones that were left over, the order was formally dissolved by 1312.
Oh, didn't even make it to 1313. How unlucky.
They never came back, so we believe. Now, you will hear this story in the Dan Brown novels, but I would like to point out that if you're looking for historical fiction that covers the Templars, there is actually a much earlier work that talks about the lovely Templars and how Friday the 13th likely came from this event on October 13th, 1307. And that book is Foucault's Pendulum by Umberto Eco. Foucault's Pendulum was written in 1988. The actual Foucault pendulum is in France. It's from the mid-1800s, and it's to demonstrate the rotation of the Earth. I guess it doesn't work if the Earth is flat. But Foucault's Pendulum is a novel by Italian writer Umberto Eco, written in 1988. Eco himself was a medieval historian. Very famous guy. If you've read the book or seen the movie, The Name of the Rose, it's by him. Mm-hmm. That's probably the thing he's most famous for. So This is where I first learned idea of Friday the 13th being unlucky from the Templars was from this book that he had written. And then, of course, most pop culture audiences, for lack of a better word, would know it from reading Dan Brown because he does bring it up in his novels. But he was not the first historical fiction writer to talk about this. And of course, you can find multiple resources on the web about the Templars and the Friday the 13th Association. So that is the theory. Now, moving forward, there are various little references here and there throughout history, not really cropping up again until the 1800s. Referring to Friday the 13th as an unlucky day.
So maybe it took about 500 years to sink in.
Maybe.
That it was unlucky. Just 500 years of trial and error later, they're like, yeah, it's unlucky. Okay. Yep.
Or maybe not. Maybe it's just like the word okay. You've ever wondered where okay came from?
I can't even begin to conceptualize where okay came from. There's no etymology there.
There's not. No, I think it was in Boston somewhere. There was a paper that would do these like completely wrong acronyms just for fun. It would like be different every month. They would have a different one. But they started using okay for all correct. OLLKORRECT.
Oh dear.
Just as a joke, but it happened to catch on because of a presidential candidate, President Van Buren, when he was running for re-election, he actually used okay in his campaign slogan. Because
to mean all correct.
His nickname was Old Kinderhook. So he was like, oh, this is funny because okay had been kind of popularized in Boston. It was like the meme. It was the meme of the 1830s.
Sure.
Yeah.
It was the 1830s version of I can has cheeseburger.
Exactly. Yes.
It's hilarious because it's an inside joke from literature that nobody gets unless they know it and they've seen the inside source.
Mm-hmm. And
wow. So that means that what I think of as the proper spelling of okay, O-K-A-Y, is onomatopoeia.
Right.
Dude, that's weird. Okay. Thanks for teaching me that. I love it.
So could it be that Friday the 13th is actually from this event that happened over 700 years ago? Or could it be just random things over time? Random associations slowly building up.
Somebody made a meme and everyone forgot the meme, but
yeah. I mean, it could be. And we're looking for reasons. I mean, for a while they thought that okay was a Choctaw word. And that's why. But then they realized that no, it's not. There have been ideas in literature referring to Friday the 13th being an unlucky day. Just different novels that have been written. There was a novel called Friday the 13th written in 1907. Nobody really knows for sure is what it comes down to.
So in other words, it's been an unlucky day for about 200 years, but could be based on an unlucky day that happened 700 years ago.
It could be. Yes.
Maybe.
In the novel Friday the 13th, it basically... the idea is that this stockbroker deliberately tries to create a Wall Street panic by telling everyone that Friday the 13th is a bad day. So could it be in a way a tulpa out of a fictional book? Now, there are some interesting things about Friday the 13th that you might find interesting. Over the last 400 years, the occurrences of the 13th of the month following on a Monday have been 685. On a Tuesday, 685. Wednesday, 687. Thursday, 684. Friday, 688. Saturday, 684, and Sunday, 687. Therefore, meaning there have been more Friday the 13th in the last 400 years than any other day of the week. Now,
it's mysteriously more prevalent.
Now, it's probably, I think it's pure chance, and I don't think by one is statistically significant when we're talking about... But for those of you that like conspiracy theories, you can just run with that.
Do with that what you will, just like everything else.
Every year is going to have at least one Friday the 13th.
It's guaranteed, huh?
Mm-hmm. Just because of the way the dates fall.
The length of a month, the length of a year. Got it. Okay.
If you have a Friday the 13th on February, you're going to have a Friday the 13th on March.
It's
is just the way it is. And I always love those months.
February?
Well, because you can have a 13th 2 months in a row. It's kind of fun.
Yeah, everything happens 2 months in a row in February, except on leap years.
But you're never going to have more than 3 Friday the 13ths in a year. Oh. So it would either be on February, March, and November, or January, April, and July, if you're going to have 3 in the year.
Interesting.
So just a little bit there to kind of round things up. There is a fear of the number 13, which is...
triskaidekaphobia, I think. Is that right?
Yeah.
Triskaideka.
Diana, did you learn something?
I learned so much. Like, why I have triskaidekaphobia and why Maundy Thursday is not unlucky.
After Ash Wednesday?
Apparently. And apparently that it's a dangerous prospect, dedicating your life to helping people without collecting interest and not having children. Knights Templar didn't because it was forbidden in Christianity.
They got some sort of kickback, even if it wasn't interest.
The Templars.
Yeah.
They got a tip.
That's how they got so wealthy. Yeah.
A transaction fee.
Yes.
An expense ratio. Nice.
It's dangerous to be more wealthy and more powerful than the king.
Yeah.
Yeah. Put that in your bonnet and keep it. You don't want to ever become too powerful.
Put that in your holy helmet.
I just want to leave you with this last little nugget about the unluckiness of the number 13. I don't know if you were aware of this, but it's a common superstition that if you have a dinner party with 13 guests, one of them will die soon.
Not betray you?
Well, maybe you get dead because somebody betrayed you. Don't invite somebody named Judas to your dinner party, maybe.
Or
Loki.
Apparently, even if you don't invite them, they're going to show up.
Yeah.
Like Maleficent.
Right.
So the Knights Templar, kind of like Loki, kind of like Maleficent. It all has to do with dinner. Okay. Painted Loves, do you have triskaidekaphobia? What kind of vague practices do you adopt that are based on superstitions, based on the number 13? Are you born on a dismal day?
Damn it.
Like Becky and I are? If so, make sure to carpe dismal and have a spooky day.
Homespun Haints is hosted by Becky Kielimnik and Diana Doty, and produced by Homespun Haints Media LLC. Editing and music by Becky Kielimnik. Show notes by Diana Doty. If you have a ghost story and you'd like to be considered as a guest for this podcast, please visit our website at homespunhaints.com/submit.